Ready to take your favorite WagerTalk handicappers wherever you travel this football season? The WagerTalk TV app is now live for phones, tablets, smart TVs, and streaming platforms. Tune into your favorite shows like WagerTalk Today, Bet on It, and the Opening Line Report, plus browse through our extensive library of sports betting tips. Create your personal playlist of betting tip videos to help you prepare for the upcoming season, and set notifications to alert you when new content is added. Download the app for Apple, Android, Amazon, and Roku devices by searching for WagerTalk TV, or scan the QR code on your screen to join the winning conversation today.
Hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for joining us on Inside the Distance. I am Andy Lang from WagerTalk.com. Joining me, as always, Kyle Anthony from WagerTalk.com and Matt Kowalis from SportsMemo.com. We have got a lot to get to. We're going to be breaking down the main event, Thompson versus Holland. We're going to get into our fights that we're excited to watch. And then, of course, we've got our fight to go the distance or not go the distance. We've got our heads up fight, and we got our parlay buster. Lot going on at Sports Memo and Wager Talk. Kyle has his UFC pack up right now. Matt has a 3-pack up at sportsmemo.com, and I am going back to my one play and one play only after having a few weeks of success with that. So, gentlemen, we're going to get right into it. We had a week off. Hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving, but let's go to the classroom. We cannot predict the future unless we learn from the past. So, Last event, we took away a lot of things. I see what you guys have to talk about. Matt, I'm coming to you first because I am completely with you on what you learned. If we learn some of this, if we take your advice, we're going to make a lot of money. So what'd you learn from the last event?
Yeah, so from the last event, I learned that the UFC continues to have great live betting opportunities. You look at a fight like Andre Fialho and Muslim Salikhov, and Fialho won the first round. He rocked Salikhov and ended up getting knocked out in the third round. Then you look at a fight like Charles Johnson and Zhalgas Zhumagulov, and again, lost the first round and ended up winning in a decision. Same thing with Kennedy. You know, we did this last time, so I'm just going to avoid it. And it's against Ian Cutelaba. And, you know, he got knocked out in the second round again. So all in all, in that main event, in that last fight card, 4 of those 5 fights were come from behind victories. And as you know, if you go out and win the first round, the books have to adjust that. So that's a great opportunity for you to hit some live bets. And again, we've kind of seen in the UFC how up and down these fights can be, and no one is ever out of a match. Everyone always has a puncher's chance, especially if it's a pick'em 50-50 fight. Or, you know, there are always those fighters who tend to start off hot and then fade as the rounds go on. And there's some fighters who start slow and pick it up as the fights go on. So there's always a difference, and I think we need to pay more attention to those live betting opportunities going forward.
Absolutely, Matt. I agree with you 100%. It's the only sport I live bet. I won't turn on my live lines for any other sport now. So agree with you 100%. Kyle, I love yours. I'm in 100% agreement. What did we learn from the last event?
Yeah, this is like a personal preference. We talk about the gambling side and fights and breakdowns and all these things here. But what I learned is something internal that I learned. And I love UFC events that start at 1 p.m. I love it. It's great. We're so used to this like 7 p.m. prelim start, rolling into the 10 o'clock where the main card starts. And then you're going into, even this weekend, we've got 6 fights on the main card, which is great. More fights, the better. I like it. It's great. But when it starts at 1, it kind of has that like NFL football Sunday kind of feel to it where, you know, you wake up for breakfast, you get something to eat. A couple hours later, noon's rolling around. You're getting excited about your bets, what you placed, all these great things. All of a sudden, you know what? It's socially acceptable to have a beer, crack a beer open. Maybe it's not frowned upon to have a Casamigo shot. Whatever you're into, I like it. I think it's a change of pace. We're so used to these late cards. So any of the big cards, I think, are great to have late. I think that's kind of great to kind of leave those to wherever they are. But these early ones kind of shifted up a little bit, and I think it works out well that way. I think we're all a little bit more happier. Plus, when we do this at noon, Matt, co-host here, he likes to get this burrito that's like the size of his head, and he basically nibbles on it all day. They look good. But I'm going to stick with the Casamigo and the beer on these fights.
I never have to leave.
I love the 1 o'clock starts as well. What did I learn? I learned that it keeps being more money to be made fading the right Contender Series graduates. And we had 3 of them. We had 3 Contender Series graduates fighting on that last card. And I talked about Silva over Teresa Bleda. And Bleda, I watched on Dana White Contender Series. It was a shaky performance from her. I questioned her cardio big time. And sure enough, the cardio ended up being her worst enemy. And if you followed Contender Series, you knew that was going to be a problem for her. Fernie Garcia, absolutely no takedown defense, fighting a guy with good takedown offense. Brady Hiestand just, pretty much ran right through him with the takedowns. And then the other guy, Waldo Cortez Acosta, I want to make sure that I say you have to fade the right Contender Series graduate. We saw Cortez Acosta go the distance in his UFC debut. He did it again. He got another victory. So that was not somebody that I faded because I knew he matched up well against Chase Sherman. I knew that he, based on his last fight, that you could expect him to go the distance because he learned how to manage his pace. But if you watch Contender Series and you watch these Contender Series graduates making their debut, if you can find holes in their game, it's a huge step up in competition. And when they're fighting real UFC fighters, that first fight can really, really be a struggle. So fading some of these Contender Series graduates when you can find holes in their game continues to be a very profitable wager. So that is what we learned from the last event. Let's get into this event. We're going to break down the main event. Kyle, I'm coming to you first. Thompson versus Holland. There were two of the nicer fighters. I don't know if you saw the video on Twitter where they met each other for the first time, and it was like 2 old frat guys that hadn't seen each other in years. It was
hanging out.
They were. It was kind of cool to watch. Definitely no bad blood between these guys, but we kind of know we're getting with Stephen Thompson with that karate style stance. Should be a great fight, but what do you see from this from a betting perspective, Thompson versus Holland?
Well, I think when you break this down, I think obviously the first thing is going to be the striking side of things. And Wonder Boy Thompson really is elite when it comes to that. There's no doubt about it. His range, his distance management, his footwork, his counter striking. A lot of these things have really always caused a lot of problems to opponents because they're just not able to kind of find the rhythm, get inside, be able to kind of, and especially the way that he moves and the way that he can kind of just step out of danger and then come back in. That's obviously been the way that he's been able to find a lot of success. But Kevin Holland has really been elevating. I mean, I really give this guy a lot of credit to kind of, the grappling side of things he's trying to elevate and all these things he's trying to do. But I thought he looked fantastic against Tim Means. I know Tim Means isn't this high-level guy, but he's a battle-tested kind of guy. And he had his combinations looked smooth. He looked crisp. He looked like he's getting better each time. But I think the big thing here that really helps him kind of counter some of the things that Wonder Boy does is this 6-inch reach advantage. I really think that helps a lot. Thompson is going to be good. He's going to be there. He's going to have, he's going to be sharp in the stand-up game. But I think the 6-inch reach advantage really helps him. But if you're looking at finishing upside or finishing equity at all, I think it's all going to be Holland. I mean, if you look at really what these guys have done since 2020, if you look at it, and since 2020, Holland's had 11 fights. He's won 7 of those. 4 of those he lost, but he's faced some tough competition along the way. But out of the 7 wins, he has 6 finishes. So he's the kind of guy that's going to be looking for the finish. He has the ability. He does have power. I think that's going to really help him a lot in this fight. But Thompson's been pitter-patter. He hasn't been a guy that's going to really be hurting an opponent, finishing, really, tenaciously coming forward. If you look since 2022, he's had 3 fights. Now, that to me already is not a good thing because you're looking at its limited activity that he's had. Plus, he's 39 years old now, where you've got Holland, who's going to be in his prime now. Now he's 30. Now he's starting to put things together. Definitely on opposite sides of the spectrum. But out of his last 11 fights for Thompson, you got to date it back to 2016, was the last time he had a finish against Johnny Hendricks. And he was 5-6 over this span. So I don't really put much to his finishing side, but I think the biggest problem for Thompson in this fight is going to be his limited volume. He just has such low volume. He is sharp, but he has just been very timid in the pocket. He has not looked like a guy that's really looking to kind of go out there and go after the wins. He kind of just is doing enough. Lately, we've been seeing him getting taken down and being held down by some stronger grapplers. I think that's actually something that Holland could possibly do. I don't think he's going to sit out there and be diving at legs all day, but I do think that even if it's a change of pace, it does help him. I think that a lot of stuff are really tilting towards Holland, and I think it's actually a good stylistic matchup for him here. So I do like Holland. I think he gets the job done, and I think you could see a late stoppage here and him to get the victory.
Ooh, calling for a late stoppage. I love it. Matt, coming to you. What do you expect from this one, Holland versus Thompson?
Yeah, so for one, this is a fight that I'm really excited to watch. I think it's a great job by UFC matchmakers. You know, Kevin Holland has really been pressing for a striking style matchup, and as has Stephen Thompson, you know, and this is a huge matchup for both fighters. Stephen Thompson is now 39 years of age, has lost 2 fights in a row to Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns, and both of those were kind of grappling style matchups, you know, something that he was advocating against. He wanted a stand-up style striker, and he's got it now with Kevin Holland. And as for Kevin Holland, he's lost 3 of his last 4. Again, same story here, though. He's lost to primarily grapplers, you know, losing to Khamzat, Marvin Vettori, and Derek Brunson. You know, and again, both of these guys have been patiently waiting for a stand-up style matchup. And in this matchup, I do believe Stephen Thompson is the better overall striker. He has the karate style with the hands low, in and out movement, strikes from different variations, high kicks, low kicks, a little bit of everything. But, you know, the thing with Stephen Thompson here is he's not the most powerful guy in the world. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna get in. He's going to get out. And with Kevin Holland, you know, he's kind of opposite. He has some good power. You know, he does have strikes from different variations, and it has been improving with each fight. You know, to Kyle's point, you know, when he fought Tim Means, that was when I felt like he looked his sharpest. You know, with the Khamzat Chimaev fight, doesn't really, I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter to me. That was so quick. We kind of all knew how that was going to go. He was just kind of laying on the knife with that one. And now he's been rewarded, you know, this Stephen Thompson fight once again. And for Stephen Thompson, now that he's 39 years of age, I don't know if I can back him in this spot. You know, I do think Thompson is the better overall fighter in terms of stand-up style striking, but Kevin Holland has a 6-inch reach advantage, and I think that can be a huge factor in this fight. I also believe Kevin Holland is the bigger individual. So if necessary, if Thompson does start picking him apart with the striking, with the stand-up style, I think Kevin Holland could have success with a blitzing style matchup where he crowds Stephen Thompson, pushes him to the fence, grapples him, hits him with knees, strikes against the fence, things of that nature. And because of that, I do think Kevin Holland has the more avenues to victory in this fight. Me personally, I actually like this to go over and to potentially go to a decision. That's plus 140 right now, because I do believe Stephen Thompson is going to be very careful in this matchup. I believe he's going to pick his spots, get in and out. He's a very slow style fighter, and the last time he was knocked out was against Anthony Pettis. I believe that was in 2017 maybe. So he is a fairly careful fighter. He's a tough guy to hit. But one point that we've made on the show before is the guy who lands these stronger punches, the more powerful punches, the punches that get the judge's attention, is the guy who does get the nod at the end of the day. So for me, I got to go Kevin Holland here, even though I do like Stephen Thompson, and I'm excited for this match.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to add to this. I think it would be silly if Kevin Holland did not take the easier road, which is to just try and wrestle and grapple. Now, I don't know if I trust Kevin Holland to do that. He seems to like trying to put on a show and prove that he can. Yeah, I can see him trying to prove that he's better at this karate style or striking. But I think if he just calms down and his corner says, just wrestle this guy and take the guy. I mean, I actually went back. I don't know why I went back and watched the Chimaev Holland fight, but I got to tell you, Holland was kind of game. He was like, it was an intense, like, kind of grapple. And I watched that and I was like, there's no way Stephen Thompson could deal with Kevin Holland if he puts on that kind of wrestling or takedown. So I guess for me, this one all comes down to, is Kevin Holland going to try that? I would be stunned if he tries to stand in a point fight. So
I have so much trouble backing 39-year-old fighters nowadays as well. It's tough for me to do.
Let's talk Scott Holtzman and Clay Guida, Matt. Since we two really old
hey, at least
guys.
they're both up there.
Yeah, right.
I saw somebody on Twitter was like, I can't back old Clay Guida, and it was like, you do know who he's fighting, right?
He's like the same age.
I think they're like 1 year old, aren't they? Or something?
Yes. That was like, tell me you didn't research both fighters without telling me you didn't research both fighters. So there's your main event. It sounds like we all leaned Kevin Holland in this one.
Yeah.
You can grab Kyle's plays at WagerTalk.com, Matt Kowalis' plays at SportsMemo.com. Guys, let's go to fights that we're excited to watch. These are fights that stylistically we're excited about, betting-wise we're excited about. Kyle, I'm going to come to you first. We've got Eric Anders and Kyle Daukaus. Why is this fight exciting for you to watch?
Well, I think there's a spot here for a wager, and the first thing is that I don't think Daukaus should be minus 225 almost against anybody in the UFC. I don't really understand the line. I'm not saying Anders is this high-level guy and all these things. I'm not saying that. But this is pretty high. This is pretty wide of the line. And if you're looking at kind of stylistically what they both do well, you got Kyle Daukaus here who, yes, he's a good grappler. He's able to do some things on the ground. He's, been able to kind of find some finishes. He's able to kind of keep a guy on the ground for a little bit of while and kind of win rounds that way too. But he's going to definitely be giving Anders the exact fight Anders wants. And it's going to be in the clinch. It's going to be grappling. It's going to be that kind of in-tight exchanges. If Anders is fighting a striker that wants distance and he's looking to kind of be the guy, be the aggressor, get the takedowns, it can look ugly for Anders. This is a spot where Anders is absolutely going to have the better wrestling. He's going to be the stronger guy. He's definitely going to be the guy that's going to be looking to grind it out. Now, I don't really think that Daukaus really has much of an upside when it's coming to really what he can do. Again, if he can get the guy on the ground, he can do some things. But even if you're looking at pure athleticism, that's Anders. I mean, Anders is definitely going to have that. Now, could he later in the fight? We've seen Anders kind of have some iffy, has looked a little iffy. Definitely. There's definitely that, and that's probably why the line is to the extent of him, being at the plus money side. But I think that him being able to go in there and have opportunities for takedowns, to grind it up against the fence, I think that he's going to be able to defend these takedowns. I think that he's going to be able to kind of muscle his way into a dominant position. And I think that the key here is going to be him bullying. I think he has to bully Daukaus. He can't really kind of back away and allow him to kind of grab at legs or anything like that. I think he needs to be the aggressor. He's the stronger guy. And even in the striking situation, if this fight stays standing, Daukaus was brutally knocked out recently in his last fight. He's very hittable. His durability is iffy. And absolutely the harder hitter is Anders in this fight. And again, Anders is not this elite level guy. But when you're looking at these two guys, this line is very, very wide to me here. So I think he goes out there, he bullies him, pushes Daukaus up against the fence, has some positional, wins doing that. And whether he can find the finish or not, but if this fight stays standing, Daukaus is in a lot of trouble. So I do like Eric Anders here. I think he can go out there at a plus 190 number. I think this is way off, and I think that Anders has an opportunity to get the job done on Saturday.
I love that. I was stunned to see Kyle Daukaus that big of a favorite against someone like Anders. So great call. My fight I'm excited to watch, Matheus Nicolau versus Matt Schnell. I'm excited because Schnell has been involved in some exciting fights. I mean, his last 7 fights, there have only been 2 that have gone the distance. One was against a guy who tested positive for a banned substance. And his last fight, I think, guys, we would say is one of the most exciting fights in recent memory, surely one of the most incredible comebacks we've seen against Jauregui. Yes. So he's just involved in finishes and exciting fights. And Matheus is an incredible fighter. He's effective. He's fast, lightning fast. He's a really good striker, but he's not exciting. He's not high volume. He loves to circle the outside. He likes to bring his opponent in, and he loves to fire those just lightning quick counter punches. And his cardio is just elite. It's all time. I mean, you look at the way he moves in round 1 compared to round 3, and it almost looks exactly the same. So he likes to wear down his opponents. He has 7 fights in the UFC. 6 have gone to decision. I want to see if Matt Schnell can push Nicolau into deep waters. I want to see if Schnell has a lot left after that insane fight. I didn't think we would see Schnell for a long time after that, after all the damage he took. But to see him come back and to pick Nicolau kind of leads me to believe that Schnell sees holes in the game. I think Schnell's going to push forward, and that's what Nicolau wants. And I think we're going to get an exciting fight. I want to see more from Nicolau. I want to see him in a war. He's ranked number 7. I think he's got all the talent in the world. But as we know, guys, even if you're good with the way UFC is now, you have to be exciting to get some of these bigger events. And Nicolau's going to have to put on a show at some point. He's going to have to convince everyone that he's at least looking for the finish. He can't do what he has done the last few fights. They've just been really bad and really boring. He's gotten the wins, but I just want to see Schnell really push him. I hope Nicolau comes out victorious because I'd love to see him move up. I think he's got all the tools to be a champion, but I want to see him uncomfortable, and I want to see what Schnell has left after that insane fight. So I'm looking forward to watching Mateus Nicolau and Matt Schnell fight. So Matt, we're coming to you, but first, real quick, there's been rumors about this burrito, the size of your head. So
yeah,
I believe we actually you were not kidding.
Oh, no. Dude,
this is your fight day ritual.
Oh, yeah, I get that in the morning, and I hit a fourth like every 3 hours. Like, so then I never have to leave. It's just sports all day, baby. Probably why I don't have a girlfriend.
It looks like you're holding a cell phone from the 80s. Like those.
That's great.
That is so fantastic. Shit. All right,
That's
so Matt and your burrito, tell us what fight you're excited to watch this Saturday.
Yeah, so for me this Saturday, me and my burrito are very excited, and I think these guys would be pretty excited for the burrito too, and it's Tai Tuivasa and Sergey Pavlovich. I mean, at this point though, how are you not excited for Tai Tuivasa? This guy has quickly become one of the fan favorites throughout the UFC. He has knockout power. He has a crazy chin, and then he just starts chugging beers out of shoes after he knocks people out. I mean, what's better, you know? And Tai Tuivasa does have some impressive victories over Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, and Derek Lewis. And then also, you know, in his last matchup with Cyril Gane, almost knocked out Cyril Gane before getting knocked out himself, you know, so a pretty impressive showing from him. I think a lot of us have been interested to see how he does in his next fight, and you know, he's got a hell of an opponent in Sergey Pavlovich, you know. In Pavlovich's UFC career, you know, he's an incredibly dangerous guy, and not one single fight in his UFC career has made it out of the first round, you know, which is insane and probably exactly what Tai Tuivasa wants as well. It's what the fans are going to want. This is probably one of those fights that for sure goes under 1.5, 2 rounds. So again, very exciting. And for me, though, the question kind of remains, how good is Pavlovich, you know, when comparing all these opponents? You know, when you look back at his opponents and the type of people he's beaten, the best opponent that he has beaten was Derek Lewis. And then before that is a guy named Shabil Abdurakhimov, something like that, and beat him, 41 years old, and he's out of the UFC now. Maurice Green lost 5 of his last 7 fights after he lost to Pavlovich. He's currently in the PFL and is losing in the PFL as well. Marcelo Golm, another guy out of the UFC right now. So a lot of these guys that he's knocked out in the first round are out of the UFC, and other than Derek Lewis, of course. But then you have kind of the crossover effect with Tai Tuivasa knocking out Derek Lewis as well. And then when you go back and look at Tai, you know, he has had some better opponents and better opponents that he has knocked out with Andrei Arlovsky, Greg Hardy, and then, of course, Derek Lewis again. But he's another one of those guys who, over the course of his career, hasn't beaten all that many impressive opponents. So that's why this fight is so interesting to me. You know, with Tai Tuivasa being a plus 180 and showing the ability to press forward against someone like Cyril Gane, I'm interested to see what he can do against Sergey Pavlovich. You know, he has shown that he has a very strong chin. He can throw strikes from different angles. He showed how he can knock out Derek Lewis in a clinch with an elbow up against the fence. So for me, and this might be a little fanboy, I'm going to ride with Tai Tuivasa here at the plus 180. I think he's just such an exciting fighter. He's someone you can never count him out of a fight as well. And with heavyweights, especially with heavyweights, you are always in a striking chance. And with Tai Tuivasa, once again, it just takes one hit to send you packing. And when I look at Sergey Pavlovich's track record, I think Tai is going to be by far the best fighter that he's faced. So, and I can't exactly say the same for Tuivasa because he has faced Cyril Gane and gave him, in my eyes, a tougher competition than what I expected. So because of that, I'm going to ride Tai Tuivasa, and I'm hoping he chugs a beer out of a shoe after. Mute.
Sorry. I was told we have to mute our mics. If we have to, I was told we have to mute our mics if we have to cough because it's the winter months. So I did. I was being a company man. I've never done a shoey. Kyle, you have done a shoey. How was it?
Well, I did the shoey because I had bet that who was it?
It was Amanda Nunes.
That Nunes would not be subbed by Pena. I said not a chance, and she subbed her. And so I did the shoey, full beer. It was disgusting. I actually put the shoe back on and then walked away, but it was disgusting. It was not fun. I'm not gonna lie about it. But maybe I should do a shoey before the last event of this year. I'm gonna bet a shoey.
Oh,
okay.
I love it. You heard it here. Kyle's betting a shoey.
I love it.
We'll find spots. We'll find a spot.
Absolutely. All right. Let us take a look at, let's do our parlay busters, our heads up fight that's minus 200 or better, and then we'll take a look at a fight that may or may not go the distance. I am going to do the parlay buster, guys. I'm going to take a look at Yasmin Jauregui. It's pronounced Jauregui versus Estela Nunes. And I'm taking this one as the parlay buster because I think a lot of people may look at women's fights and just say, oh, that's the big favorite. I mean, Jauregui's minus 350. She had a huge win in her UFC debut. It was an awesome fight. You've got Estela Nunes, who has lost 2 fights in a row in her UFC debut. So Estela Nunes has a massive weakness, and that is her takedown defense, wrestling and grappling. It's non-existent, really. And Nunes lost to Carnelossi because she got dominated in the clinch and she got taken down. And she fought Sam Hughes, and she was doing damage on the feet to Sam Hughes. Sam Hughes was bleeding, and then she lost 2 rounds because she couldn't stop the takedown. Hughes did some lay and pray. And now she's fighting Yasmin, who is a really good striker, but does not go for takedowns. So I get Estela Nunes, who has an opponent that is not going to exploit her biggest weakness. Now, Jauregui has really great striking. It was on full display in her UFC debut, but Nunes has really good striking too. This is a fight that I don't see anyway. It goes to the ground. So I get 2 women who are pretty equal in the striking category, and I get one of them at minus 350 that I think people are going to put in their parlays blindly because Nunes is coming off of 2 losses. I just think this is incredibly overpriced. And when you have 2 strikers whose strengths are exactly the same, this is more of a pick'em to me. And Nunes is going to be the more motivated fighter. She has lost 2 in a row to start a UFC career. She needs this win. Do not be surprised if this is a really close fight. And if it's close to a pick'em going into the 3rd round where the 3rd round decides it, I think this is a mistake to put this in parlays. And a lot of people are going to see this as the first fight of the card. They're going to throw it in their parlays, and I think some people are going to be disappointed. So my parlay buster is to stay away from Yasmin Jauregui in the very first fight. Matt, coming to you, we're going to talk about a heads-up or moneyline fight that is minus 200 or less, and it's way better than minus 200. So what do you have for us? What fight are you keying in on?
Yeah, so for this fight, I'm going with Roman Dolidze versus Jack Hermansson, and I'm going to go with Roman Dolidze at plus 158. This is one of those fight cards where when you look everything over, I do think there's a lot of really good opportunity with underdogs, with the Eric Anders earlier that Kyle brought up as well. That was one that I picked out on my card as well. I think that's another good spot for an underdog, and it's just one of those cards. Not every card is like this, where I think there's very good opportunity. And for me, I also chose this fight because of some classroom segments in past episodes. And, when I speak on that, it's because of the stylistic stylistic matchup of both fighters. In this fight, you have Roman Dolidze, who is a world champion grappler. In 2016, he actually won the World Grappling Championship. And Jack Hermansson is someone who is known as somewhat of a grappler. He tries to get you on the ground. If he does get you there, he's pretty good. He tries to get you in that clinch, things of that nature. He's also pretty good at stand-up, But one thing with Jack Hermansson is he's not the most powerful striker in the world. He tries to smother you with punches and crowd you with punches. You're never really in too terribly, all that much danger of getting knocked out. With Roman Dolidze, on the other hand, he is all about his power. And if he can stuff Jack Hermansson's takedowns, and which, he's not actually a very good takedown specialist. For someone who's very good at grappling and things of that nature, his takedowns are actually coming in at around 27%. So not that great all around. Dolidze is a world champion grappler and wrestler. So I do think this is going to be one that primarily stands on the feet here. This is one of those spots where Hermansson is taking out strikes at 4.12 strikes per minute and is absorbing 3.74. So again, he's crowding his opponents. He's sending out multiple strikes, 80% strikes, things of that nature. And again, the reason that I mentioned the classroom segment earlier is because the more powerful fighter has been getting the nods in some of these decisions. And this is one of those fights that I could see potentially going to a decision. If it doesn't go to a decision, I also give Dolidze the nod there because I think he has the knockout power. And again, going back to that, with the judges, a lot of the time, the guy who's landing the more significant strikes, the louder strikes, the one that gets the crowd's attention is the one getting the nod in the decision. So for these two guys, you have Hermansson, who's he likes to grapple, and he's a decent striker on the feet. You have Roman Dolidze, who's a world champion grappler and someone who's very powerful on the feet. So because of that, if this stays standing the entire fight, I do give the more probable outcomes to Roman Dolidze. So because of that, I think the plus 150 price tag here is worth a little sprinkle, a little money line sprinkle. And, this is one that's definitely going to be very exciting. And I think we really get to see how real Roman Dolidze will be in this fight. If he can take down Jack Hermansson, he's going to be taken very serious going forward.
It's a great spot for him. It's kind of a no-lose situation for him. He saved a Jack Hermansson fight, coming in on short notice. Mm-hmm. It's a really great spot for him to put on a good show. So, Kyle, coming to you, let's take a look at a fight you expect to go the distance or not go the distance. What fight are you looking at?
So the fight that I'm going to be looking at here is going to be Sergey Pavlovich versus Tai Tuivasa. Now, as soon as I say that, and we're talking about distance, you don't got to be a rocket scientist to know where I'm going to be going here, although I don't think rocket scientists know much about UFC. But let me tell you something. The under here is pretty good, but it's also juice. You're looking at it right now. It's minus 220, under 1.5. But I still think there's a little bit of an angle there, so we're going to talk about it. Matt talked a lot about, covered a lot of the points that I'm basically going to be discussing. And the first part really is that both of these guys have fought guys that are willing to stand in the pocket and exchange, to throw big blows and really block punches with their face and not do much else. And we got Henry Hunsucker, Greg Hardy, Augusto Sakai, Maurice Green, Derek Lewis. I mean, a lot of these guys are just willing dance partners to kind of go forward, throw the big shots, and kind of see what happens. But if you're looking at really when these guys end fights or how they're ending them, basically it's all knockouts for the most part. But if you're looking at Pavlovich,
something just happened.
Am I back?
Am I back?
Hello? Am I back?
You're there, Kyle.
Right.
Finish us off.
If you're looking at Sergey Pavlovich here, over his 16 UFC wins, I'm just jumping right in, his 16 UFC wins, 13 of them have come in the first round, which is pretty crazy if you're thinking about it. In the UFC, he has 5 fights. He's 4-1 over that span. All of them have ended in the first round. He lost to Overeem in the first round. He has 4 straight finishes in the first round. And even Tai Tuivasa. Tuivasa has 15 wins. 10 have come by first round. So these are guys that are looking to push forward, that are looking to throw the big shots. I think that the more technical striker is going to be Pavlovich. I think that he's got that the long reach. He's going to have a 9-inch reach advantage. And I think that this is a kind of spot where I'm going to be leaning the Pavlovich side, because I think that the wild shots and the heavy pressure moving forward for Tuivasa, needing to cut that distance with that reach, I think that that's where Pavlovich is going to land some big shots. But I don't see this leaving the first round. So if you're looking at the number again, it's 1.5 under 225 or 220, whatever you're getting it at. The first round, I think, is where this fight ends. And you're looking at minus 140. So I think if you're shaving that half of a round off, you're getting a better price. Yes, it could slip into the second round, but I really think these guys are going to exchange. They're going to throw the big shots. And I really like the price as this fight ends in the first round, minus 140.
Well, first off, I got to say, I did not expect for there to be 2 Maurice Green mentions on this show, which is amazing that we were able to put that in. So, that's an incredible stat on Sergey Pavlovich. So we do not know what's going to happen if Sergey Pavlovich wins, but if Tuivasa wins, where is this? Is there going to be a crowd for him to be able?
Yeah, look at that.
Can we see what's going to happen if Tai Tuivasa? There it is. That's what's going to happen.
There it is. We're putting it on the line. Last event of the year. We're putting it on the line.
Oh my god,
That is great.
that's so amazing. Shout out
Honestly,
to the
Kyle,
graphics
if we're
team.
against each other, I'll bet a shoey with you.
Oh
love
my
to.
god,
It was a mess.
That's so
it was
good.
a mess.
That's so good. So, all right, we're going to have a shoey bet on the line for the last event of the year. That should be amazing. Guys, that's going to do it for us here. Matt Kowalis, thank you so much. Kyle Anthony, thank you so much. Let's do a quick recap here of the Parlay Buster, the heads up, and the distance fight for the Parlay Buster. We're warning you not to put Yasmin Jauregui into your parlays. We're taking a look at Roman Dolidze at a really nice price at plus 158. And for the distance, we're looking at Pavlovich and Tuivasa to go under the total. You can find all of Kyle's plays at WagerTalk.com. You can find Matt's 3-pack up at SportsMemo.com. I have my best bet up at WagerTalk.com. Should be a really, really good UFC Fight Night. A lot of really nice gettable bets here. So, gentlemen, we're getting close to the end of the year. We got 1 month off coming in December, and then 2023 should be a banger. But let's get some profits in for this weekend. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see everyone next week on Inside the Distance.
Ready to take your favorite WagerTalk handicappers wherever you travel this football season? The WagerTalk TV app is now live for phones, tablets, smart TVs, and streaming platforms. Tune into your favorite shows like WagerTalk Today, Bet on It, and the Opening Line Report. Plus, browse through our extensive library of sports betting tips. Create your personal playlist of betting tip videos to help you prepare for the upcoming season, and set notifications to alert you when new content is added. Download the app for Apple, Android, Amazon, and Roku devices by searching for WagerTalk TV, or scan the QR code on your screen to join the winning conversation today.